gonna have really delighting insights about a global, about almost all parts of the world. I mean, I have announced this webinar as post-COVID business recovery in Europe, but we'll switch to China in the first hand. We're going to talk about the fintech industry in particular, and we'll have a close look at the blockchain industry. And because this is a morning format, coffee will play a decisive part in our webinar. So please stay curious. Dear guests, please mute yourself during the presentations. Dear speakers, do not speak longer than 10 minutes. After the presentations, you can hand in your questions to the speakers in the chat, dear participants. But first of all, in all shortness, please let me introduce the work of the Utech Chamber before we give the floor to our speakers. Who is the Utech Chamber? The Utech Chamber is divided in three what we call alliances. There are regional alliances dealing with business and networking opportunities in China. There are regional alliances dealing with Latin America, Africa, and so on. There are tech alliances, and they deal with the latest innovations in the energy sector, in the mobility sector. And there are impact alliances like the Climate Action Alliance or the Sustainable Development Alliance. They deal with bringing our planet really further. We have a decisive number of tech events. I'm very happy you visit one, but we have over 200 webinars per year with over 684 speakers. We have more than 20 expos, and we have, and this is a number that makes me especially proud, 50,000 registrants. 90% of them are company owners and decision makers. So you see how distinguished our audience is. We offer, with a number of about 400 networking meetings, access to speakers and panelists. We offer business opportunities, and we give you unique access to EU tenders and worldwide funding and dedicated networking events. A short insight in our ecosystem. We offer programs for digital transformation support. We offer really popular awards. We offer our tech forum, and we offer insights with white papers, newsletters, position papers. Well, this is all I have to say about the Utech Chamber. You're more than welcome to contact us in case you have any questions. These are my two colleagues, Marcus Wiemann and Federico González de Aledo. They are more than happy to receive your inquiry. Let me give you the floor. Let me introduce you first, our first speaker. I am very happy to have Frank Sieren in our rows. Frank Sieren is one of Germany's most renowned China specialists. We have the keynote speech given by him. He is a German-speaking bestseller author of several books on China. The newest book is called Shenzhen, the Young Megacity That Changes Our World. But why did we invite a China expert? I mean, this webinar is dealing with Europe. I am really strongly convinced that we in Europe need to understand the situation in China in detail in order to draw the right conclusions to fully understand our fully understand our situation. And I'm happy that I found Mr. Siren to explain the situation in China for us, because he once got a really good review by a journalist named Peter Scholl-Latour. Peter Scholl-Latour is the Pope, the godfather of journalism in German-speaking countries. And Peter Scholl-Latour once said about Frank Siren, Frank Siren is someone who could explain the world in exactly the right way, as I did when I'm when I pass away. And to our international audience, this is almost as if you are a blues musician, and the late B.B. King himself comes to you and says, "Okay, I like what you do, and you can continue my job when I'm gone." So, Frank Siren, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot for this very kind introduction. Yes, it's a very important question. Why is China important for Europe? And the answer is obvious, as we are facing tremendous changes right now. There are basically three big topics we need to deal with at the beginning of the 21st century. It's the climate change for sure, it's digitalization and automatization. And the third one is not so obvious, but it's getting more and more obvious as time is passing. The third topic is that the minority of the West is not able anymore to set the rules and directions for the majority of the world. And this ends a period of several hundred years, including colonial times, and it's of enormous importance because it affects deeply how we are dealing with the other two problems, and digitalization and climate change. And it's more and more obvious that we can't deal with those problems or challenges anymore without including China, but not only China, but India as well, other Asian countries, but also more and more African countries and South American countries. This is a tremendous change, and it's a on one side, we are working together. On the other side, we are competitors as well, because the rising countries have a different perspective on the world. They have different value systems. They have different perspectives than the established countries in the West. So our biggest problem is right now that we are competitors and partners at the same time. We need to understand um, what these rising countries want, what kind of perspective they have, what are their goals, to be better able to implement our interests in this new world order. Basically, until recently, the Western countries owned the table where the world order was negotiated, and they decided who else was sitting at the table. These times are over. We actually, especially in Europe, we are only sitting at this table again if we are economically strong. Because if you're not economically strong, military strong, we are not anyways. But if you're not economically strong, no one will be interested in us. And our dilemma is that we only can stay economically strong in Europe if we work together with China. But China, again, has different interests, or Asia has different interests than the Western countries. That makes it quite complicated. And one key factor in this competition and partnership is technology. More and more, technology is the driver. Digitalization is the driver. Innovation is the driver in this competition and partnership complex. And what we need to learn that China, especially a country like China, is now coming back on the innovation level. China used to be a very innovative country until the 19th century. Then they basically, in a mixture of ignorance and arrogance, underestimated the innovation developments at the other side of the world, the Industrial Revolution, and they didn't really see that this Industrial Revolution is making the European countries much stronger, and then they failed to cope with this development, and China almost collapsed and was basically had an almost zero share at the world economy, down from 30%, and now they are on their way to recover. In the first stage, they have been the factory of the world, which means we were inventing stuff, they were producing it, and we could sell it in China, and we could basically rebuy it for the European markets. But we thought this would be basically the end game of partnership. Yeah, we are the smart guys, and the Chinese are producing our products. But from a Chinese perspective, this was only a step to get to the ultimate goal, which is that China is becoming as important on the innovation level as it used to be, let's say, 200, 300 years ago. And now, right? And now they are basically starting to be surprisingly innovative, surprisingly more from a Western perspective, not so surprising from a perspective of China. And they are more and more able to set standards, technological standards, not only for China, but also for the world. One of the first astonishing examples is the electric car industry, where the battery technology is almost uniquely developed in China. And as the government decided that the local producers in China need to produce more and more electric cars, this was basically setting the movement for the whole world, because the Chinese car market is so big that it made no sense to stay with traditional engines in other parts of the world. And this will only be the beginning of a new innovation circle coming from China and Asia. The next big development will be autonomous driving, which is one of the most challenging developments in artificial intelligence, one of the most complex challenges in artificial intelligence. And there you can see already that the Chinese enterprises and startup surpassed, leapfrogged enterprises in the United States like Waymo and others. And what we need to do to stay competitive in Europe is to focus on this new development, to accept it, to accept that we not only have to look at Silicon Valley for innovation, but we have to look as well into Shenzhen, southern China, but also in other parts in China, not forgetting India and other countries which are emerging right now. And we need to accept this new competition, and we need to decide if we want to face the challenge or not. the challenge is there, the competition is there, and we need to decide if we want to stay competitive or not. That's our decision at the end. If we want to stay competitive, then we really need to define a strategy in Europe. What do we want? Where do we want to go? What are the others doing? How we can connect with the new players in China or in Asia and the old players in the United States. If we don't do this, then we will probably not disappear, but Europe will become, at the end of the day, sort of a country park where successful Asians and successful Americans come to visit, and we will have to wear traditional clothes and sing songs for the tourists. That could be a solution as well. But if you want still have the decision, then we need to cope with the new developments in technology, in digitalization. There's no other way. And what I'm a bit worried about, I'm worrying that in Europe we underestimate these developments, and we still think we can give the pace of the development. We can decide which technology is going to be used and when and how, and we can decide about the circumstances. These times are over, and I think they are over forever, that the minority of the Western countries can set the rule for the majority. So we are actually at the beginning of the development of a true multipolarian world order. This means we need more dialogue, we need to find consensus, we cannot force anyone to use this or that technology anymore, but we need to integrate in this new multipolar world order. And if you don't do it, then we will stay at aside. We will not be a big player anymore. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Siren. This was absolutely impressive. Mr. Siren asked me to share his LinkedIn credentials with the audience. And I'd like to share our LinkedIn credentials as well. You are more than welcome to add the Finance Alliance to your LinkedIn group, as well as you're more than welcome to add yourself to Mr. Siren, who said he's dealing with the biggest China network on LinkedIn. You are, of course, more than welcome to find out more about upcoming webinars and meetings on tech.forum, and I'm really sure that our other two speakers are happy if you add them to your LinkedIn network as well. Next one in line is Camila Medrano. And I must say that not only the Forbes magazine has a 30 list, the Utech Chamber has too. I therefore am really happy to announce Camila Medrano as our next speaker and recommend following her career closely. Her background is strongly linked to the fintech industry already, so she is definitely the right person to ask for giving an overview of the fintech industry and feel the pulse of the industry. Camila, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me properly? I think so, right?
We can, yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna present something. I hope you can see it. Good. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the fintech industry in Europe in the post-COVID era. So if we go back to 2020, obviously social distancing and was a phrase that we were all listening all the time. And what does this mean? It means contactless. Obviously, our payment habits starting to change. We started to decrease our use of cash. We started to reduce our mobility. So we started to go for digital banking options rather than going to the actual bank. And we were looking for convenience. So we were looking for all those online offerings that were going to make our processes faster and actually help us while we were in lockdown. So I want to highlight that COVID-19 was actually a catalyst for a transformation in the financial services industry. Rather than just an event, it was really a driver that accelerated this change. So if we think right now, how often do we go to an ATM? How often do we go to a bank? It's really for very particular cases, because now when we think of making a payment, we often think of doing it with our phones. And I want to ask you, how many fintech or finance related apps or features do you have on your phone? So after 2020, obviously we moved digital because of hygiene. We didn't want to touch cash, we didn't want to touch each other. But now we're staying digital because of convenience. As you can see, the transaction volume of mobile payments in Europe is forecasted to keep on increasing and increasing. And again, it's really important to highlight that even though this is obviously going to increase because of COVID and all the post COVID behaviors, it was already on the rise. So at the same time, we have to highlight that crises actually create opportunities. So some of the opportunities that I want to highlight today is embedded finance, fintech, or a data company. We're going to talk about what does this mean. And blockchain as well is very important in the fintech ecosystem, as you have probably already heard before. So embedded finance. Embedded finance is integrating financial services to any business model. As you know, technology is becoming more and more available because of economies of scale, but also because more professionals are going into the sector. So the cost of actually developing a fintech is not that high anymore, and there are not barriers. So now retailers and common businesses beyond the financial service industry are opting for including financial services or financial offerings into their business model. And this is very interesting because 2 years ago, non-financial businesses were already planning to offer embedded finance services. And this is great because as businesses start doing this, they start generating more and more data about their customers. So therefore, they're able to make better decisions on what to do next and also increase their efficiency and accuracy on product development. So again, actually embedded finance drives companies to make decisions based on their data. As you can see here, one of the most appealing impacts of embedded finance for other businesses that are not finance related is retaining their customers and enhancing their customer experience. So these two really go along together. And that's how we jump to the other point. Are fintechs really fintechs, or they're starting to become data companies? Well, as you know, fintech is driven by data and technology. So now the customers have lots and lots of options because fintechs, as you know, are very specialized in what they do. Their product is very accurate. We have so many options. And us as consumers can decide whether to choose app B or app A within 5 seconds. It's all about the experience that we have and the value that these fintechs bring to us. So now companies are starting to really take advantage of their data. Like I said before, to develop better products, to also expand and see new markets, new opportunities, and overall to improve their efficiency and also their forecast, because now they're able to manipulate and analyze this data they're collecting. So actually, businesses who have embedded finance are going to be better companies, and they're going to have more possibilities of surviving in the future. because as you can see, the revenue coming from big data and business analytics is just increasing. And this is a very key moment in time to leverage this. I want to bring a very interesting example. For example, telecommunication companies. As you know, there are many options out there, and customers tend to decide whether to go for one or the other based on the price. There's not much than that. So now companies like this one are starting to offer digital banking services or just financial services to increase the value they deliver to their customers and retain them longer, because this is also going to improve their customer satisfaction and just actually bring more value to them. And you as a telco company, you can secure your customers for longer. So again, the data that they gather through their business line is allowing them to make better decisions. And the third component that I wanted to bring today is blockchain. As you know, blockchain is booming right now, and maybe not a lot of people understand it, but the key portion of this is that now that everything is done digitally, people are opting for more options related to blockchain. There are more businesses going for the use of smart contracts to automate and basically make their flow of business more transparent, more secure, and more open to everybody. So for sure, our next speaker, who's an expert on this topic, is gonna dive more into this. But I think it's important to highlight that blockchain, even though it's very associated to finances, can also be applied into many other sectors. And this is also going to be something that we're going to see in the coming years becoming more and more common, for example, in healthcare or even with government. Actually, the government utilized many smart contracts to facilitate the vaccination processes now that we were in the after COVID. So for sure, this is a very interesting space to explore, especially on the new sectors besides the banking and the traditional finances. And to wrap up, I just want to also talk about the challenges. So now we saw that there are so many competitors in the market. So what's going to really make the difference is the way that the fintechs or the traditional financial services companies do. It's how they put their focus on making products that are actually customer-centric focus. And this is going to be driven by the data they collect in order to actually deliver value. Also, another challenge is going to be how they handle this data, because now with cyber attacks and data protection protocols, it's very important that actually companies pay a lot of attention to these details. Again, to also deliver quality and trust, because that's the key of actually maintaining a good fintech ecosystem, that it's secure and that customers actually feel protected and they can trust their companies. And also want to bring the point of sustainability, because now as climate change and we face climate change and many more other challenges in the future related to nature, we have to start thinking about how is our business impacting the world and our clients, and putting a little bit of focus on sustainability is going to make the difference whether you survive or not, because now customers are starting to care more and more about this, and it's something that has to be included in the business plan. And in the same way, just to wrap up, I want to highlight that now, especially after COVID, we're living in a VUCA world where it's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So the world is never stopping. In reality, we're just transforming faster. So companies who are able to do this, whether you're a fintech or a traditional bank, you have to really put this at the core of your decision making, that the world is just going to keep on making changes. And now it's COVID. Tomorrow is going to be climate change. But we don't know what's next. So this is going to be really the key. And just as a conclusion that I think is very important to say is that businesses tend to think that technology is going to make things better, or that blockchain is going to solve our business problems. And that's not it. Technology is just an enabler. We have to be the ones who are behind the scenes giving the inputs to develop the technology. And we have to also understand the limitations of the technology. And this is also going to make the difference of whether we survive or not, and whether we're able to make a real impact in the fintech ecosystem. So again, just remember that technology an enabler, but it's on us, the ones that are making the decisions, who are going to make the difference at the end of the day. And that will be it.
Thank you so much, Camila. That was really enlightening, and I'm very much looking forward to starting the discussion with the questions from the audience. But before we do so, I'd like to give Mirjana the word and and make her our next presenter. Mirjana is located in Slovenia, and Slovenia has, in my opinion, in many cases played a very decisive role in being technological innovative. And Mirjana has a very interesting field she's doing research on. She is the one thinking about job opportunities in blockchain. And I think this is so important because, as Camila said, technology is only an enabler for making this world in if I may say it a bit idealistic, to making this world a better place, to give chances to use it. But if we see this blockchain technology from a very pragmatic way, as a company, there's a sudden need for employment, experts, professionalization, education, and all this. So I'm really delighted to have Mirjana today in the panel. Mirjana, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I would just ask you to give my presentation.
Okay.
Yes. So, good morning, everybody. Best regards from Maribor, best regards from Slovenia. So, I will put another aspect on this post-COVID recovery and possibilities, and I will talk about blockchain technology, as Camila already mentioned, and the new job opportunities. On the next slide, you will see this is my mining rig. It's a computer, and at the home we are mining, of course, crypto coins. We started with Ethereum, but now we will find some new coins. But another important thing is blockchain coffee. Joyce will show you. Come and have blockchain coffee in Maribor. Well, just to be not so. So please
start with some good humor.
Some humor, yes. So we should know that we are now in Web3 position, but just to have a short overview. Web 1 was read-only web. We have emails. This was the beginning. We have different portals, Internet Explorer, and so. But the next step was Web 3. That means we can read and we can write. You can see we have Facebook, we have Google, we have Skype. We are now on big blue button. But now we are in a Web 3 situation. We have different applications. We can read, we can write, and we can execute web, and we can own it. And remember, we will mention one more time this Web 3 because it is important. But on the next slide, just a short definition of blockchain. You already probably know it is a distributed database or ledger that is shared among the nodes of a computer network. Let's say we have 200, 1,000, 10,000 computers in a network. As a database, a blockchain stores information electronically in a digital form, and one key difference between a typical database and a blockchain is how the data is structured. A blockchain collects information together in groups. known as block that hold sets of information. And on the next slide, you will see the most important thing of blockchain is decentralization. That means all the nodes can access the information and then it can be validated for, let's say, 100,000, 10,000 computers. So this is the most important thing. And if we are talking of blockchain and in combination with job opportunities, we must know this is a very, very interdisciplinary science. There is always informatics, economics, and law. There is no blockchain project without three different parts. And in your group, you always must have economists, informatics, and lawyers. And on the next slide, I would like just to share with you some thoughts and to show you how many opportunities in finance, economy, and of course, on the other fields there are for you. On the next slide, I just would like to show you a presentation of a blockchain career path. Here we have actually two different things. Can you show it, Joyce? I am not very technician, and there are some persons that are technicians. So depending on this, you can choose a different job roles. You can see it here, and I can send you my PowerPoint presentations and you will write it on my LinkedIn. On the next slide, you can see also that job roles, jobs in blockchain technology are very, very good paid, and they are very there are jobs and there are not enough persons for blockchain industry. And on the next slide, you will see these are the high paying blockchain jobs, as you can see it on 101 blockchain homepage. So there are jobs on economy, informatics, and also law. And if we go further, Joyce, these are just 6 different job portals, let's say crypto jobs, crypto job list, and there are so many job offers in the moment. And I would like to, on the next slide, to just have an overview of different jobs that are offered today, and they are looking for these persons all over the world, and the minority of these jobs are also remote and online. And of course, if we are in an economic finance alliance, I would like to say that there are a lot of jobs on the field of economy and finance, and most of them that are connected with, of course, cryptocurrencies, the most known part of blockchain technology. But you will see on the next slide, there are also a lot of jobs concerning and related with Web3. You remember Web3? We talked about it, is the latest blockchain technology. And of course, metaverse. You can see there are so many different jobs. Metaverse lawyers, marketeers, cybersecurity, designers, strategists. So many jobs and important jobs and very good paid jobs. But there are so many possibilities to start your career and perhaps to think how to get more knowledge on it. And on the next slide, I would like just to tell you that this was a very short presentation, but I hope I have challenged your curiosity and get your attention. And on the next slide, you will see. This is my, please Start exploring the mysteries of blockchain technology, and you may find your further career opportunities in it. And you can start with free courses. There are so many free courses and groups, and you should explore it. And at the end, I will conclude it with become an important link in the chain, which is today called blockchain. And I would like to stop to finish my presentation with our blockchain coffee. Became a part of blockchain jobs, and perhaps you will find and start a new career path on this field. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. And I will also put my LinkedIn profile in our chat, so you can contact me, or you can write it to me if you want. Yes.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and your LinkedIn contact details, Mirjana, and for sharing this concise overview on the job opportunities in the blockchain technology. We have had so many interesting thoughts this morning, with or without blockchain coffee. So I'd like to ask Mirjana the first question, and I'd like to open the discussion with that first question. Mirjana, what from a statistical point of view, what do you think are what is the percentage of blockchain jobs being created in Europe in the next 5 years? What would you say, and why?
There is such a demand on different jobs, so I think there will be enormous lack of these jobs on blockchain, metaverse, web scene. I cannot tell you in percentage, but now if you go on these job portals, you will find there are so many jobs, and they are still looking it for them. But
Camila, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Camila should say your point of view on these jobs.
Okay.
Your job is also a part on the blockchain, Camila.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very interesting to bring this topic, because now businesses are not only going to require tech people in general. I think they're going to require a combination, like you said, of people who are going to understand the technology, know the limitations, know the opportunities, know the product, but also understand the business strategies behind it. So we kind of need translators between the two, because at the end of the day, decision makers cannot leave the decisions of the business to the tech people that are focused on the product, and a business leader cannot make a decision on a tech product if he doesn't understand it. So we need a translator, or we need to put a bridge between these two profiles. And I think businesses are going to start hiring more business analysts that understand both portions of the business, and that is key.
We need new business models, and we need, let's say, blockchain managers who will be this connection between lawyers and informatics, and they will decide to transform their business models and put it on blockchain technology, on every part of it, on every cluster, on every industry. And blockchain is already there, but as a, let's say, a consumer, you don't know that this application is on blockchain.
Exactly. It's basically hidden. And that's why I think people hear about blockchain all the time, but they don't fully understand it. And for example, blockchain can be something like Airbnb, where a digital contract is created in a platform, and it's validated, but you as a consumer are just making a booking.
Yes, it is no need to know how the program runs. You just would like to use it.
Exactly.
Yeah, here we are again at the point you mentioned, Camila. Technology is only an enabler. In your opinion, what is urgently needed from both businesses and the states and the, let's say, the European Union to help fintech industry grow in the right way? Do you do you want more university classes being created on the blockchain technology? Do you see a need for regulation from the state? Do you want to see more EU grants to be offered for startups? What are your ideas on it in order to make the industry grow to a full extent, and in order to create the job needed and required for a full extent?
That's a very interesting point. I think now with obviously regulation coming into the table, Europe is a great place to be at, I believe, because there are still many gray areas on whether your business will be considered a fintech or you would need a banking license. So there are a lot of room to do many things. So as we should be looking and exploring into this new system. But I think it will be very interesting also for the government to put in place um, protocols like sandboxes, for example, for new entrepreneurs to explore their technologies in a safe and regulated space. And also for the government to see what would be the impact of these players within a sandbox in order to even enhance more their their investments into companies like fintech. But in reality, I think now governments, especially in Europe, are understanding the potential, which is great because we do. I believe, me coming from Bolivia, I do know the difference that Europe has in comparison to Latin America, for example, where players in Latin America are really struggling with the regulation, and it's much harder to open a fintech ecosystem. You most likely always need a partnership with a bank. And here, I don't think that's 100% necessary. So if you're in Europe, take advantage of this. And in terms of studies, I do believe that now universities are looking more into offering these kind of programs for profiles that are business oriented, but need the tech portion. That's what happened in my case. I come from a business background, but I decided to study fintech and business analytics because I do know that that's a very important asset to have. So I see that now more and more programs are approaching this new view on combining these two profiles. And also for those people who have a data scientist or an engineering background, they want to understand business as well. They want to become part of the decision makers. So it's really coming from both ends. And I think that's a very interesting move. And as we go on this new wave of transformation in the fintech environment, we're going to see more and more universities offering this as something more normal. And fintech, the word fintech is going to be understood by everybody.
And talking about blockchain jobs, that means that there is a great possibility for girls and women to work on different jobs, because most of them are remote. You can do it from home, and we sometimes underestimate girls and women on these positions. So this is a great opportunity for them to study or to go for free webinars and to get some knowledge and to start and to be a part of this blockchain community. There is a question from Obet. Can B2B cross-border transactions be facilitated through blockchain technology? Of course, this is the most important thing. There are no borders for blockchain, and it can be done. And there is another. So there
Thank you.
blockchain.
Thank you very much, Mirjana. I think Wade is really happy that you have answered his question.
I will just share one thing. Just a second. I hope you can see it.
So sharing your screen works again.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I'm glad.
Dear
audience, this is live. So
yes. So can you see it? OECD Global Blockchain Policy Forum. It's today and tomorrow, and there we talk about blockchain policy in Europe. So this was just it's a very hot topics in Europe.
Yeah,
now.
unfortunately we can't see it. You are still not able to upload it. But anyway, we share as much in the chat as we can, and this gives me a really good opportunity to share with our audience that we have a networking business opportunity meeting coming up next Wednesday, where we can follow up on the opportunities and all the facts given, where you can we all are most cordially invited to join in as well, in order to keep on talking about blockchain technology, in order to keep on talking about the future prospects of the fintech industry. And as I said, our dear speakers, Camila, Mirjana, and of course Frank Siren, who could not stay until 10 o'clock due to other important points on his agenda. We are all very cordially invited to continue these talks on next week's Network and Business Opportunity meeting, where I'm going to introduce you all a bit more to the functionality of the Tech Forum of Utech Chamber, where we are going to learn more about what the Utech Chamber does, and which is, in my opinion, the most important point, where we have the opportunity to improve our networking opportunities and have more room for in-depth networking regarding these three very important topics. A last question to both of our speakers. What, in your opinion, should happen in order to make the growth, what, in your opinion, is the worst case scenario for both the fintech and the blockchain industry? What is the greatest obstacle regarding this insecure global position we're all in order to hinder the growth of both the blockchain and the fintech industry?
I think blockchain cannot be stopped. There are no limits.
Limits.
We just need network from computers, and we can go on.
No matter what the current, no matter what the current
electricity and internet connections, we are on.
Camila, do you share Mirjana's optimistic views?
Yeah, no, I do agree. I think it's something that is not going to be stopped. And a lot of people have the concern of, like she said, electricity. But there are many ways of validating the blockchain. The proof of work, it's not the only possibility. There are other options, so that's important to highlight. But more than anything, it's gonna be it's gonna cause a big impact. But we always have to be responsible and apply it correctly. But I think for sure it's something that has arrived and it's gonna stay. And it's gonna be very interesting the ways that it's gonna open up more opportunities for for everybody. It's because it really makes, for example, buying an apartment and dividing it in little portions so everybody can have a little investment by creating a smart contract to this through this is doable. I mean, the possibilities are endless, and the use cases for a technology like this one are amazing. Governments can even use it for elections and voting, and allowing people to vote from anywhere. We won't need to go to an actual place to vote anymore, and it's going to be more controlled, more transparent. It really opens lots of doors in many industries. So for sure, it's something that is gonna stay.
These are this optimism is such a good opportunity for it's such a good opportunity for last words. Um, thank you so much, dear speakers. Thank you so much, dear participants. As you all know, speaking, presenting at Utech Chamber helps to fight climate change. So thank you, Camila. Thank you, Mirjana. You have made, with your presentation, you've made a change for climate action, and for every presentation we plant a tree in Africa. So I'm going to send you the trees, the certificate of your special tree growing in Africa really soon. Thank you so much for coming. And with this optimistic mood we are in, I'd like to let you off in the day with a very optimistic mood. I'd like to show you our latest Finance Alliance video. I'd like to share it with you in order to that you see what the Finance Alliance work is about today and in the future. And I'd love to see you all supporting Utech Chamber's Finance Alliance and its incredible network and opportunities. Thank you so much for coming, and please enjoy the video. Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day. Goodbye, and see you all at our Network and Business Opportunity meeting next week at 9 a.m. Goodbye, everybody.
You are currently the only person in this conference.